I'm LZ Granderson, sports and culture columnist for the Los Angeles Times. And while LA is my home, this neighborhood of 8th and Grand is actually where I live. I'm a downtown resident, and it's been somewhat of a surreal feeling looking at what happened to the places where I like to hang out and spend my time after the looting. This is my CVS. Across the street is the grocery store I shop at once a week. The Dunkin' Donuts where I like to indulge is also right down the street. We're gonna spend the day walking through the city, talking to the protesters, asking about how they feel, and thinking about solutions, not just for the city of Los Angeles, but perhaps for the country at large.
I just couldn't do it. I couldn't watch another person who looks like me just get murdered in the streets and think somebody else will fix it.
There have been several days of protests in the downtown area. Some of them have led to unfortunate situations of rioting and looting. Did that not deter you at all about coming back downtown to protest, that your message might get lost?
The rioting and the looting is all how it breaks down. It's just this domino effect. We come here, we're going to be peaceful. We're not going to try anything. But if things start to escalate, then they fall apart like that. And then violence takes over, and then when people are unheard, they're just angry and they're violent.
Once we're done protesting and people like myself disperse, what would you like to see the city do in terms of taking action?
Honestly, just holding cops accountable for their actions as if you would any other citizen for their actions towards others.
You're from where?
North Platte, Nebraska.
Why are you in the streets of Los Angeles marching?
I'm here because all lives don't matter until Black lives matter. I think we're at a tipping point in our society right now.
And what exactly about this particular incident, this murder today, that brought you out as opposed to others in the past?
I just feel a responsibility to stand up for my common man. I think, like I said, not everybody's safe until everybody is safe.
When I first started covering the Trayvon Martin murder, the protests that ensued, in my experience, about 90% of the protesters were of African American or of color. But here today, after so many deaths, especially so many vivid deaths caught on camera, you're beginning to see more and more of an interracial coalition. And just like here today, you see people who are Latino, you see Asian Americans, obviously African Americans, you see white Americans. You're seeing more diversity. You're actually seeing America actually step up and say no justice, no peace.
George Floyd! George Floyd! No peace! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
We rented a U-Haul van.
Just filled with pizza,
Yeah.
you see some milk, obviously anticipating tear gas.
Yeah.
Why did you come out here with these supplies?
Because it's just necessary. Like, our people on the front lines, marching, hungry. We tried to get water, we couldn't. People were getting tear gas. Stores won't sell them milk, and it's just very important to me to just make sure everybody comes together. They're fed, they have milk, they have the essentials, and we can do it all together. Any way I can help.
Come out of your own personal pocket?
Yeah.
Was this?
It did.
You personally paid for all these
all of
pizzas,
it.
the milk, everything.
Everything, yeah.
What is it about the African American community and its relationship with violence that just seems to be a never-ending story? I mean, obviously, it impacted you personally on a deep level.
I think that it's all written into the history, and history repeats itself, and it's up to us to break and change that cycle. We're gonna get through this, and we're gonna get through this together, and it's probably gonna be years of fighting, but we're gonna get through, and we're gonna just do it as a unit.
We're back in Pershing Square in the corner of 5th and Olive. And as you can see right behind me across the street appears to be the National Guard, armed and prepared, obviously, in case things start to turn violent. So far, I've witnessed no violence of any sort. And right now behind me, you can see the protesters are beginning to make their way down the street.
Thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, that's the right message, brother.
Keep it going. Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
We are now walking down Flower Street. Protesters were trying to walk towards 110, but there was a line of police officers there to prevent them from making that way towards the highway. Right now, there are a slew of cars blocking traffic, preventing the police officers from going through and continuing to follow the protesters who are continuing to march down Flower Street.
Sir, I'm trying to be good about this. Please move your van over there. Please move it out of my way.
The Pershing Square, through downtown, and now we're heading basically across the street from Staples Center.
If you're here to start violence, go home! This is a peaceful protest! No violence! No violence!
Get your energy up. Snacks, guys.
Are you blowing your horn because you're frustrated at blocking traffic or in solidarity?
God, no, solidarity, for sure, 100%.
Why?
Why? Because we're a mixed race couple and it doesn't matter, what's going on. We all should be the same, and when people kill people because of their color of their skin, it's just wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And we're not going to sit here and just be quiet, because that's what happens all the time and nothing changes.
So the protesters have finally made their way through City Hall, despite the efforts of the police officers to try to prevent them from getting there. They walked all the way around the city until they can cut through the park, and you can see behind me are armored vehicles. Presume they are part of the National Guard. I see members of the military to my left, in front of the police officers, but once again, during this entire time, I have personally not witnessed anything besides peaceful protesting.
Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
I personally have been a part of and covered marches of this nature, protests of this nature since the 1990s with Rodney King. And each decade there's hope that this will be the last one, and with each decade there's disappointment that once again these sort of demonstrations have to be done in order to get our message across, in order to get the message across, which is simply black and brown bodies, they matter. I know that sounds flip to some people, but trust when I say this. I've been covering these stories for a long time, and there is a sense of not mattering to a lot of people in the minority community. So for those of you who are watching, for those of you who are wondering, what's the point or what's this all for, it's because there's a sense of hopelessness, there's anger, there's frustration, and these demonstrations is an outcry for help. What they want is to be heard. My gut tells me that unfortunately we may be out here again, maybe in this park, maybe in a park in another city. But my hope is that with each passing day, we can become closer and closer to fulfilling America's promise, that all men are created equally, all women are created equally, and all people want is for America to fulfill her promise.